So, now that you're in the industry and you around, some of your most favorites that you have seen, um, like for me, one of the things that disappointed me when I got an opportunity to be around some of these people was that from day one, it their own personal financial situations sort of troubled me because
Right. No, I agree.
yeah, it wasn't what it was on the video. You know what I'm saying? Like it was
Yeah.
like wait a second, like this ain't what it looks like in the video. And at that time, I was an aspiring rapper since like 6, 7 years old, and that turned me off immediately. I didn't. I said, why would I keep chasing hip hop if the very people that I'm looking up to, their financial situation is not straight themselves? And back then, it was even worse because if you was chasing, as you know, it was you had to carry the records for 2 or 3 years before you even got an opportunity, to be cut in on just a single. Someone put you as a feature on their song. It was like you had to be carrying records and running behind them for 2 or 3 years, and I didn't agree with that. So my life went a different direction, and I pursued a different avenue because
Yeah.
I didn't want I didn't want that. So now that you're in the industry, at what point was it that the Christian in you, the child in you that was raised, began to see that you might have stepped into a dark arena?
Obviously this year, within the last few months, because it was always there, right? Because it was always in my DNA, God was, and I would always convicted of certain things, or I would always feel a sense of regret. But, the music that I was doing and the stuff that I was promoting was wicked, was violent, was uh degrading to women. And my reasoning for accepting that was because it's like I'm not even listening to it. This is like if I'm working at, like a Coca-Cola, know that it's sugar water and I know it's hurting everybody, but I'm just doing my job, right? I'm just promoting. I'm not even listening, to the content. And so as I kept getting like bigger and as a publicist, the thing that changed really was 2017 when I was coming home with my 14-year-old daughter, and we were pistol whooped, we were ambushed, pistol whooped, and duct taped, bound, duct taped, and we were held in a home invasion for like 2 hours. That's when everything started to change. And after that happened, I was real angry at God. I was very blasphemous. I would walk around my place cussing at God. And I was just so angry that something like that happened because my daughter and I's relationship had changed so much because she didn't look at me as someone that could keep her safe because that happened. And then, three people pled guilty to kidnapping and robbery charges. They went to prison, but that changed everything. And then the trauma was so intense for me. I started to, that's when I started to dabble with like drugs, psychedelics, different things like that, DMT, mushrooms, acid, Molly. I started to travel to New York a lot. And that's when, I started to take like a different path. I was still having success. And 2023 was like rock bottom where it's like, okay, I'm not doing like not going to the parties anymore. I'm not doing anything. It's just me and my girl. We're out in, New York, close to her family. I just felt very like I was just tired, right? I was just tired of like, everything. And then this year I started to like work again, started to write a book. I started to get inspired again. I got I started to live around, my oldest daughter. She moved in with me. Just started to really like get a like a second outlook on life. And that's what I've been doing. I've been back working, but for a few years, I definitely went through some serious depression from an incident that happened.
And I heard you speak about that incident, which I'm sorry that I couldn't even
Yeah,
imagine, you having to suffer through an incident like that with your daughter. Our women, they do look for us to be their protector, and um, that's a very unfortunate situation. My heart goes out to you. I couldn't imagine. Um, so I'm if I was making it out right or not, from what I was understanding at that time that you was working with Drake,
correct.
and um, is being alluded to that he might have had something allegedly to do with it, and that he was upset with you for outing him.
Yeah, Jaguar Wright had mentioned that.
Hmm.
Shout out to Jaguar Wright.
Yeah,
She's a
big shout
close
out
friend.
to my sister. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a really good friend,
Hmm. Yeah,
and
she's been on the platform.
yeah, she put me on doing this, stuff and speaking out, and really gave me the confidence and strength. And she's a wonderful person. But when she said that, I never really thought about it as that because I just try to block it out because it was so dramatic. But when I started to dig deep into it, I was like, wow, this is very interesting. And then people started contacting me, sending me Drake's lyrics. I was like,
And it was
this,
in the lyrics, actually, what happened to you, right?
yeah, the lyrics were exactly,
What took place.
what had took place.
You don't think that's a weird coincidence right there? That's
I do,
pretty,
I
yeah.
do.
That's
But
insane.
at the time, like I said, at the time, I didn't because there was three people that were arrested. So and they pled guilty, and none of those were Drake, and none of those would have had any relation. But there was a fourth person that was never arrested, and the case would get very weird for like a few years. So I knew that there was some kind of force, and I would always, tell a friend of mine, her name is Donna, shout out to her. She would like help me through like a lot of, crisis, and she's a Christian. But I would always talk to her. I'd be like, I feel like I'm up against the devil himself with this case. Yes, we've got partial justice, but not complete. And I could never point my finger on what that was. People at home started to think I was crazy. Law enforcement, the prosecutor, all those people started to think I was crazy because they're like, we have three people in prison. Why aren't you happy? That something just didn't feel right with it. I knew that there was something out there and I could never figure out what it was. So once she said that and opened my mind, I was like, there could be something there because I was battling strong force. I said it was like the devil himself because I kept losing, like this person who was my ex was dating one of the guys who went to prison and she never got charged. And then she sued me in two states and like I couldn't even heal like properly because she kept coming for me and coming for me and coming for me. And there's no way that her lawyer that someone could afforded she couldn't have afforded her lawyer for that long, a super lawyer, so I don't know if she was connected to Drake. I don't know what it was, but there's been a powerful entity that I'm up against that I haven't been able to beat.
Now, allegedly, from what I'm hearing, he was upset with you. For he said he felt like you was the one that gave Pusha T the information on his daughter.
Correct, which really wasn't fair because I was doing crisis management and mediating their relationship between Drake's baby mother, Sophie, and him. So I was mediating their relationship. And once the baby was born, which they thought was a girl at first, but became Adonis, his son, Drake was there. Drake manned up. Drake was the, father during the pregnancy. He didn't believe that it was his, and that's like common knowledge that's out there. He said that. But so it got real ugly. But then after that, I started to work with Drake individually, right? I was in constant contact with, his lawyer and Future the Prince and Drake, and they had paid me good. They had paid me something that I didn't even ask for, which was, to never reveal what happened with Sophie, and that was the Louisville hush money that's in the lyric. He talks about Louisville hush money is like I was in Louisville when I was paid hush money, right? So it's been that's been an eye-opening experience to think that he could have had involvement with it. But a lot of people think. A lot of people are constantly hitting me on my Instagram, saying Drake did it. Drake did it, Especially Kendrick fans. They love, they're like, Drake set you up, bro. So I don't know.
So after the robbery incident with your daughter, you was currently at that time when that situation happened working with Drake, correct? So how did y'all interactions go after the robbery?
Fun. Like fun. I would ask him, right, an email, and I would email like his lawyer who's very much involved in his life and Future the Prince, like, are we good? Like, I haven't heard from anybody. Like, and yeah, yeah, everything is fine. Everything is fine. But I would hear this from like a journalist, like from Rolling Stone, that there was an issue with Drake and I, and from a different journalist. And I would always ask, Drake's team, like, why am I hearing this from that? No, that's not true. Drake doesn't think you had anything to do with, the Pusha T diss song, that nobody does. But I'm hearing that he did think that because I was like the only one because I represented his baby mother, Sophie, and we were all out in the press with it, right? Like, so he was mad at he was upset that I was working with her, and he did hold a grudge, allegedly. I'm not sure. Like I said, this has been something that's been very powerful. Whatever I've been dealing with, whatever I'm up against, is that. So I gotta still trying to figure out, like right now in real time.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things I figured out right away. How would the interactions just come
Yeah,
to a cease? That's a question mark. That immediately, you know, put a
right.
question mark in. It's as close as you was. You said you was actually intervening between him and the child's mother. You was like really in if you was that close.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
you going through a devastational thing that you went through with your daughter, you would actually think his team would have reached out to you to embrace you after going through such a ordeal like you went through. So
Exactly. You would think, right?
yeah, so it's a question mark right there, you know.
Right. I agree. I agree. I agree. That's why I've been thinking about it and I've been speaking about it and talking about it, because hopefully, these can cause a little fire. You can flick a cigarette into the woods and it can, cause a huge, acres to be burnt down, right? Like just from a little spark. And hopefully, talking about this can cause a little spark where someone can see it, and then maybe law enforcement could look at it, and then maybe there could be justice.
Hmm.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.